Great. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me properly? Just
Yes,
confirm once. Cool. Perfect. Awesome. I'll probably, since we are already late, I'll probably cut to the chase and get into my slides. Yeah.
yes, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Perfect. Just the screen and not the rest of my desktop, right? I don't want to share
yes, yes,
everything.
yes.
Cool, perfect, awesome, great. Hi everyone, my name is Anurag, and thanks Kujema. You introduced me pretty well already, so I'm not gonna spend much time on it. I'll probably directly get into it. Yes, I currently work at Uber. It's been more than 4 years. That's a pretty long time. And I joined in the payments team, and then moved on to designing Uber Lite, Uber Bus, and now work on redesigning, the sign in and sign up for Uber. So every time you know, sign out or uninstall, you'll start seeing some of the changes that I'm doing right now. Before Uber, I was with Twitter, and with Twitter, I was responsible for designing m.twitter. So, if any point in time, I don't know, most of us use apps, but like if anyone uses m.twitter on their mobile browser, that's some of the work that I've done. Uh, Before Twitter, I was an intern at Microsoft, and I kind of spent a lot of time doing a lot of different work like animation and gestures for their iPad Microsoft Office applications. And I studied design from NID Bangalore, and I also went to OCAD University in Toronto for 4 months as an exchange student. So that's my background. As Kojima already mentioned, I also like to bake, cook, and photograph. If people who are in Bangalore, I do a lot of takeaway food that you can buy from my Instagram, or I also do pop-ups in restaurants and other spaces. So you can definitely check out my Instagram for that. I've left my handle here. Cool. What do I do at Uber? I work for the Global Rider Access, and what Global Rider Access means is like looking at expanding Uber to the next set of riders across India, Brazil, Mexico, Egypt, and all of these emerging markets, basically, right? And the problems that we solve for are, there's this huge one, right, where my phone is often full and I need to start deleting apps for making room for photos, right? And then if you are not like a regular Uber consumer, like you, that's one of the apps you would look at because we had a pretty large app, right? Other one was it crashed after I booked and I got very angry. I decided to stop using after that, right? And I think if you've seen our app is made for advanced phones, right? And I think some of my work is actually to pare it down uh, for so that everyone can use Uber. This is the biggest problem, and I'm very passionate about. Is people don't know how to use Uber, right? I think people know how to use WhatsApp, people know how to use YouTube, but a lot of people, like my parents itself, or I'm sure a lot of your parents also rely on you to request Uber, right? So I think I'm trying to like bridge that gap and get people to request Ubers themselves. The fourth one is safety, which is like imagine like someone when people take Uber, especially in late night in India, in Delhi, let's say, or even I don't know, even Bangalore, or this is a quote from Brazil where it's not just late night, across the day when you take Uber, you let other people know that you are in an Uber, and it's not right. It's not the service. It's you can also be in a cab and the same behavior is there. So it's just the environment of the place, and we try to make tools which make you feel safer in an Uber. Uh, this is a funny one, and I think happens the most in India, which is like, hey, it said it'll take 2 minutes, right? But the reality is that it says 2 minutes, but like no one, neither Uber Maps or Google Maps, can predict what's happening here right now, right? So there are times where we all go through it, and we're like, hey, Uber is not on time, right? So I think, but again, it's the reality of the situation. Uh, as a result of these problems, like this, these are some of the things I did, right? And the first one is Uber Bus, which is a bus like service that we piloted in Egypt. So if you know Shuttle in India, we do a similar service in Egypt, and it's doing pretty well. I was one of the first designers to work on it. I don't work on it anymore, but yeah, that's something I contributed to. This is one of my biggest project as well, at Uber, which is a completely redesigned application, for the emerging riders. So biggest thing about this, which I'm very proud, is like it's completely redesigned. It doesn't have maps, which is pretty crazy when you think about Uber, right? And already talked about it at Twitter. I think I worked on m.twitter. So yeah, I'm gonna cut the chase. Just making sure you guys can hear me fine. Just if anyone can just
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Anurag.
perfect. I'm not gonna do that again. Just sometimes you are in your own vacuum in the presentation, right? So just making sure. Awesome, cool. So we get to what I talk about today. So I call this talk "Designing for the Real World," and what does that mean? And I think I also said that this talk is very much catered towards people who are trying to get into the game right now. Also for people who are already working, I'm sure there are bits that you can probably learn from. But like I think I'm trying to also like try to explain my design process in this talk, and it's a little bit all over the place, but yeah, bear with me and yeah, let's go. So I'm just going to talk about a set of principles that I follow, and then we will just tie it back together into a process, and let's go about it. So the first one that I call is your users are not in the same environment, right? Now, what do I mean by it? Now, imagine when you look at a user, there is the person itself and the situation they are in, right? The situations, and then there are people. Now situation could be this that I talked about, right? It's imagine a user is standing in a long queue of a metro in Delhi, right? And they are using your product. It changes how it changes how they are going to use a product. Or imagine they are using the product in the rain. Imagine someone is stuck in the rain trying to request an Uber, right? I think the environment changes a lot in terms of how your product is being used. And the second one, which is more important, is people, which is you know how your people are like what are their literacy level, can they use your product, can they even read the language that your product is in, right? So I always give example of this user called Maria, right? And I think she kind of changed my design life for sure, where uh, when we went on to design Uber Lite, we were focusing on certain problems until I met Maria, right? I think uh, she was basically like a home baker who is trying to make ends meet, and she uses Uber to deliver her products, but she doesn't know how to use Uber herself, right? She's asking her daughter to request an Uber. And the days when daughter is in a class or like not paying attention, right, which all of us do sometimes, like we are in our own zone and sometimes not take our parents call, like she gets delayed on her business. Sometimes she also missed out on delivering because she doesn't have any other way to go, because it's far into the city and she lives in the outskirts. And I think this kind of explained me in terms of how what our role is as designers, right? I think for me mobility is one of the biggest freedoms that one can think of. And the fact that she can use WhatsApp, she can use YouTube, she can perhaps even use Facebook, but cannot use Uber is just so daunting to me. And it just feels like we are taking away some right, basic right from her, right? And I think that's where anything that you ever design for, imagine like these two things, right? The situation and the people. Because when we design, I think we are always like imagining everything is going to be perfect, right? I think we want to create the most beautiful looking visuals that we can flaunt on our portfolio and whatnot, right? But the reality is that the users are actually trying to run their life, especially when you're making products which are adding value to someone's life. And in that, you want to be bare basics. You want to make sure you are building on something that they understand, right? To give you an example, right? Let's say if you're designing a product, like try to use how do I put it? Try to use a pattern that people already know, rather than trying to invent something because you want your app to look different, right? People always say WhatsApp is a great product that's designed really well. I sort of disagree. It's fine, like it does its job, but the thing is, the 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 amount of value you get out of WhatsApp, like people just learn it. So if someone has spent time to learn it, like my parents, why not use the patterns that they know, that they spent some time learning it, and use those patterns into your product, so that you can take advantage of those patterns. So you are trying to be respectful of the user, which is what I'd say, right? Like you don't make your user feel dumb. You make them feel respected. If they feel they can use your product, they feel empowered. So that's one of the biggest principles I can talk about today. The second one, I think, especially young designers go through this a lot. I'm not, I'm not that old, guys. Like, I'm just 5 years into the industry, but like I think it's still more than many of us over here. Even I was like a year or like fresh out into the industry, right? I think we enter into a company or into like an organization or into a freelance and think like, oh, everything that you have is broken and I'm gonna fix everything, right? I think that's like a mindset that is a problem, right? For example, well, you look at this photo and you'll be like, this has way too many problems, and I think I have solution for everything. You will be like, we should make the trains longer so that we can fit people. Then you will be like, I don't know, like I'm just making things up, as you can see. But what I'm trying to say is like, when we look at a problem, we like look we are not able to focus. We are basically looking at way too many problems which distract us, which in turn takes us into this weird design process where you are actually not able to do justice to anything. So it's really hard if I tell you, you know just fix the sanitization of this train when I sent you this photo, right? You'll be like, no, there are more problems I want to fix it. But the reality is, uh, you have to go one by one. And if you don't go one by one, you are basically not able to solve anything, because people who have designed these things are not stupid, right? I think they have, but if you think about this also, right? Like the population we have so much is so large, and the people can't afford to be in a different bogie. All of them are in passenger, so those are the problems you can't really just solve, right? And I'm talking about equivalence of these problems in whatever product you can imagine. But like I just wanted to take this photo. So imagine spending when you're looking at a problem, try to prioritize. And I think that's what PMs do really well. If designers knew how to prioritize, there won't be a job called PMs, according to me. I hope there's no PM in the in the audience today. But like, I think prioritization is something that we are really bad at, and I feel like that's a skill that goes a long way if you can think about. The third one is, don't be afraid to go broad. Um, and trust me, this comes from like a personal failures as well, right? I think my first job as Twitter was, I was by myself at such a large company. There was no other designer in my team, and I was their first designer. And I was out of college, right? And like I had all the problems that I'm talking about today. So sometimes I'll just be married to a solution and like just push it because I feel it's great. But the reality is like, it takes time to actually come to something, come to a solution which works. Like it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of iterations to actually solve a complex problem. So when you are starting to think about solutions, right, you are imagine that you are going to create solutions which are diagonally opposite from each other. If you don't go that route, you haven't explored everything, and there is always a chance of like your solution not being good enough, and not having enough depth to it to actually be able to solve a problem. So that's why I take these three different shapes, right? Like I think a circle, square, and a triangle, right? They're very different from each other. Let's say all of these three are solutions to your project, but what people do is like they just do three different sizes of squares, let's say, to give you like a metaphorical thing, right? And I think that's what the problem is right now, and people are just so married to their own solution, and like the first solution is the solution for people. But like when you are exploring, make sure that you are all over the place, right? To give you an example, my education and my younger brother's education, who's in OCAD University in Toronto, where I went to for an exchange. He's doing a full-time graphic design course for 4 years there, and his education is very different, and I love it. They had this 1 month course to make one poster. Now you'll be like, I can make a poster in a day, but like they really teach a lot of things, right? The first one was when they say, hey, take an emotion. So he took fear, and like he was like, they were like, explore different mediums of exploring fear. And like he did a painting, he did a photograph, he did an illustration, he did just typography, he just did just colors on a poster, right? And I think that basically means he's actually exploring, rather than I'll be like, hey, I'm just into typography and I'm going to do typography. That's just wrong, right? Like I think you're basically not doing enough justice to the process and not really you're basically saying no to something that could be glorious and amazing, and actually can become really really good. So and I'm going to use this brother example throughout this the next few slides, right? The second one is iteration is the key, right? Now let's say you, between that last three that I talked about, like you came down to saying that, hey, let's do a square, right? I am again, now there are various variations in that square that will actually inch it to make it perfect, right? And I think um to be honest, like that's what iteration is, right? Like there is no way of finding what's right until you have tried everything. So after you have gone through, let's say, 15 different and I'm not kidding, like there are times when I have 15 solutions which are completely different from each other. You choose one based on, I'll tell you what, but like you choose one based on a lot of factors. And then once you have that one, like don't say that this is the final solution, actually make adjustments in it. So start that process again in that one that you have chosen, to again see what is going to like inch it closer to perfection. And again, I don't believe in perfection, but by perfection what I mean is like really solving a problem, and not really doing design for the sake of design, right? Like you are trying to understand a user, and you are trying to solve a problem. I know we have I'm going to say it today, but I know we have this boom of design happening right now. But I interview a lot of people at Uber right now, and I'm just amazed by how bad the design processes are right now, because people are just like taking all kinds of shortcuts, because I think it's a boom and people are, with whatever skills that they have, just using Figma well and making great UI gets them a job. But like the reality is, at one point in time when everything is automated, the people who can think really well are going to stay. Your future is really in your hands. So making sure you follow a right process and actually like are able to think and create something which makes sense is what uh, is one advice that I can give you today, and that's something that you can take home, right? So again coming back to my brother Ashish, right? I think he well he he chose photography, but like when he chose photography and fear, he took various different photos of fear and not just one photo, right? And like that's what I would say, like is like he took, like first he explored all the mediums, and then he explored just photography many a times, and that's when like he found one sort of a thing that he wanted to land at. um the next one is like text test more, test often, right? I think uh, be as close to your users as possible, right? Like people say design is really complicated. I'm sure many of you don't agree, but like there are also many people who think that it's complicated, right? Like people who know that we spend weeks just like on one problem, so the reality is that it's actually basically common sense. The closest you are to your users, the better your problem is going to be. The thing is, we go so far away from our users, and like we in our own Figmas and in on our own desktops, we are like often lose sight of the users, right? If you stay closer, and trust me, everyone can afford testing. You don't have to pay money to test, right? Like I know we have at Uber traveled to Brazil sometimes, but we have a business requirement, right? Because Uber is so different in every other country. But like I have to take an example of like a local product, right? Like I think all of us are users, so you can just talk to anyone. You can talk to a sales guy in your company, right, who doesn't know anything about design or using apps, right? So you can identify your users and then just be close to them and test them. Don't ask for opinions, but ask them to go through the flow, right? Even if they're saying, hey, I don't like it, but they're able to go through the flow, you kind of know where things are going, right? And I think more and more smooth the journey is going to be, and the closer you are going to be, the better product you're going to come out with, right? And now you would think that if I spend more time on Figma, it's going to look more sexy. I agree. It is going to look sexy. But like when you actually put it out, your numbers are not going to be sexy. Instead, if you actually spend time with your users, you'll actually make something that works. Now I can't promise you if it can go on Dribbble or not, but like it'll still will actually solve a real problem. And I hope that makes sense. Just a sec. God is in the small details. Now, this is like something that a lot of people miss out. Like you have a flow that works, but another thing is, and I'm talking digital right now, but another thing is people when they're using phones, right? Like I use phones. I don't know. I'll be honest, 5 hours a day now. With especially with COVID, you're not going out. I think only way to keep in touch with people, keep in touch with news or everything is your phone. So my phone usage has shot up like anything. But I also feel like I'm a pro user, so I'm not gonna read everything, and I'm not gonna like pay attention to every single detail on the phone. I don't go through onboardings and like hate them. There are apps that I can call out which I use every day, but I hate them because they're like trying to you know distract my flow, and like because I know everything, right? Like I think that's all of us. We just know our phones and this whole environment really really well, and that's where the smaller details make a huge difference. So you're basically catering to every sort of a user who's not paying attention to your written copy, etc. So very good example, but I would say sometimes uh, you are looking at a thing where you say, hey, do you want to cancel this operation? You're trying to make this action sheet, uh, and the answers should be like yes or no, right? But if I would say yes cancel versus yes, right? I think I got even saying like if someone did not read any of that, like it just adds a bit of delight, right? Because when they're tapping on a button, at least they'll read that short text. So it's a small thing. And to give you an example, going back to my brother's education, right? When he had that photography as a thing, he and when he decided on a photo of a homeless person, he took like various different photos, various different angles from to instill fear in the viewer, right? And I think uh, it's just, and those smaller details, right? Like when we had 50 more photos of that one person, I was like, oh wow, I can actually choose. Like yes, you have gotten this photo and it's perfect, but when I look at 15 more iterations, there's one more which is just slight better than the other one, which is where perfection or like excellence comes in, right? I think that's what excellence is about, right? Like most of us are good at things, but there are people who are excellent, and those excellent people are actually uh, again spending time on those details, right? uh, well, this is a great great one of the advice that I can give you, right? I think and I'll tell you why it's important. It's like the secret for any person who has actually gotten to the top of the game that they have. And I am not talking about design, I'm talking about anything, right? And it's all about developing a great palette, right? And like there is this quote about like a man woman is known by the company that they keep. And it's the same which is true for when you're looking at work, right? Can you can you actually not look at mediocre work, right? Can you not spend mindless hours on Dribble and Behance, but have like 10 projects that you think are excellent, right? And are by people who are far out of your reach, and are by people who you think you will never become because they are so great, right? And rather than looking at people who are more achievable and like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be listening to my presentation today, because some of you may think that I am, let's say, someone who is very achievable, and you can also be one today, right? So what I mean is like, I'm not saying like don't drop off after listening to this, but like what I'm saying is like when you are looking at examples, when you're following people, try to, I mean, since you're following, like just go all out, right? Like just spend some time finding those real examples rather than like just searching random keywords on all these inspirational platforms, right? Like um, um, and especially I think I have a food side to me, right, which I talked about. um, I like I always look at really really crazy, I eat at the craziest places, and I try to be close to people who are like just really crazy in their craft. And even though I'm just a designer, but I'm a part-time chef of sorts, i I'm still like trying to be with people who I can't be today, right? Rather than being with people who is achievable with having a job, right? I'm actually trying to look at someone who's great, right? Like I have people, there's the chef in Portugal, right? And he's one of the crazy chefs, and somehow I could meet him, right? And I can probably never become him, right? But like the fact that I look at his work rather than someone who's near and achievable, it just makes a huge difference in terms of what I'm looking at and how I'm shaping myself. So it could come out as a controversial opinion, but like I'll be honest, like the things you look at and the quality that you stand yourself up to, right? I think that makes a lot of difference. So spend a lot of time finding your, even if they can't be your mentors, but find your heroes and find your work. Even I would say not even find your heroes, yeah, find the work that you admire, right? And I look at it and try to look at your work through that angle, right? And slowly you will get where you want to be, right? I hope that makes sense. Uh, it's easy to say, but trust me, have fun. Like, especially like we are in, like, especially at design, right? I think we are in a sort of our job is not that difficult. I'll just put it out. It's not the hardest in the world. I've worked in a restaurant myself, and many times whenever I get a time, and like, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sometimes 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Like, you're just doing the same thing again and again and again, like tirelessly, and like mindlessly you are doing the same thing. And I feel like, wow, my job is so different, right? I think I wake up at my own time. I make my breakfast. I chill, listen to music. Whenever I feel like I'm in the mood, is when I get to work, right? And even if I get like 4 to 5 hours of productive time a day, like, I'm sorted. I'd probably be one of the better performances in the space, right? Like, just by that, which basically means we are lucky. Let's start there. But two, uh, like, it's easy to get too serious about something, but the best of the best solutions for me has happened when you're just being, you're having fun in the process, right? Like, you are completely in it, and you're not thinking of it as work, and you're thinking of it as something, that a project that you really want to do, and it's your own, is when magic happens, according to me. um Experience, stop, and this one I would say is, like, stop looking at experience as screens. Like, experience is definitely not, experience is not equal to screens. For example, I think there's one problem we have been trying to solve at Uber, is like, especially in many other places, like, let's say New York, etc., right, where like, outside a concert there are 45 different cars, and yours is one of them, right? So when we starting to look at the solution, like, we are trying to do something which is not digital. So we put this color coded thing uh, on the car, where it'll match something that you have in the app, and everyone has a different color, and there are 40 cars. We will make sure that all 40 have a color that's identifiable. So it's just one way of looking at it. And I think, especially for a lot of products right now, where we are an intersection of a digital and a physical world, right? So um, spend more time understanding the physical world, and digital world is pretty sorted these days, right? With all these newer tools and design systems, it's just easy to put together an experience, right? But more time you spend on the physical world is how it'll get better for you. Now, well, tying it all together, we are almost towards the end of the presentation, thankfully. But these are the things that I said today. Your users are not in the same environment. Focus on fewer problems. Don't be afraid to go broad. Iteration is the key. God is in the details. And then I said some additional things, which is have fun, develop a great palette. Experience is not a screen. I promise, guys, before, when I completed this presentation, I did not want to do what I'm going to do today. Now, it's actually double diamond if you think about it, right? Like, when I say your users are not in the same environment, you're actually trying to learn about your users, which is going broad. Then I say focus on fewer problems, where you go, you have all these insights, but you want to focus. Then I say go broad again, and like, do your iterations. Then I say go narrow again, and like, close it down with details, right? So it's actually a double diamond, but I want to add few more things to the double diamond, right? Like, apart from what you see here, like, make sure you have fun, make sure you develop a great palette, and make sure that you understand that experience is not just screens. So yeah, that's a double diamond.
Thank you very much, Anurag. Really enjoyed your presentation.